Oh.
Welcome back, everyone, to Speaking for Life with Tamara, where we pour into the lives of single moms. I cannot believe it. Do you know, here on the West Coast, it is, let's see, about 10:21 p.m. So we still have about an hour and a half, a little more, before the clock strikes 12 o'clock, and yay, it will be 2024. I am so excited. There was nothing wrong with 2023. It was a great year. But for some reason, I feel lighter, I feel better, and I am looking so forward to 2024. So I hope you are all feeling the same way. So stay tuned. I'm going to fix me a little bit of hot chocolate so I can just kind of like ease my way into 2024 in a comfort level. So stay tuned and I'll be right back.
Oh. Oh.
Okay, as we get ready to enter the 2024, let me just share just a little bit because this was the first year that I decided to do a podcast. And the reason why I wanted to do a podcast, I was really just sick and tired of seeing some of these podcasts where these men were like targeting single moms. Like nobody's gonna want to date a single mom, or you can forget it, you have these children, and nobody's gonna really care about you. And I just really got tired of them treating and speaking about what used to be my world. So I am a single mom, but my daughter is an adult, so I don't really currently live in that world. But still, for me, that is my world. So, of course, I just wanted to have a place where I could just really love on my single moms, my sisters. I wanted a place to where they knew they could go and I would be their biggest cheerleader. And that was one of the primary reasons why I wanted to start doing these podcasts. I just got sick of these grown boys, or should I say grown men? No, grown boys appearing to be men, just always having something really derogatory to say. It didn't seem like anybody was coming to men were coming to their defense. Maybe I should correct that, because I won't say all, because there are a few, especially some African American men, who were coming to the defense. So this, of course, does not apply to all. But a lot of these podcasts, they were toxic to me. So I wanted to provide a place that was safe for a single mom, somewhere that they can go where somebody lift them up and was not dragging them down. And you know what? And let me just remind you, single moms, Joseph married Mary. They had Jesus. Jesus was in Joseph's son. Remember, Jesus was placed in Mary by the Holy Spirit. So let's bring this into, 2023. I think that would call a single mom. Well, she was married, but that wasn't Joseph's biological child. But Joseph, being a grown man and having much conversation with God, and said, okay, I'm going to take her, I'm going to love her, and I'm going to raise Jesus as his own. Wow, what a perfect role model. But that's not what some of these men are doing. They're toxic. The other reason why I wanted to do the podcast is just to kind of offer some day-to-day suggestions, options, some things for mothers to consider that might help them and make their days a little lighter and not so heavy. And for 2024, we're going to continue with some of those discussions, of course. But not only we're going to speak to single moms, but we're also going to speak to single women over 50. Again, that's my environment. So I talk to women all the time, and just some of the questions that some women would pose to me, some from single mom, some from women over the 50s. And I'm like, okay, so how do I do this? How do I make sure I can bridge the gap, bring them both in, speak to single moms sometimes, speak to single women over 50 sometimes? And so I started really, just doing some research. And what I found out is some of the top concerns were, of course, self-care, health, finances, of course, and of course, relationships. Oh, and please, let's not forget about boundaries, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't want to spend a lot of time because it's 2024 and almost 2024, and I just want to have a little fun, a little excitement before that, the clock strikes 12. Now, let me just say this. There are a few men that do podcasts about women, but the difference is you can hear their heart. You can also see that they always try to push women up. They never want to say anything that drags single moms down. And that's the difference. So don't take this to me that is all podcasts that are done by men. But let's just say it is the majority of them. Have you even noticed that it just seems like they are popping up all the time? Every time I turn around, I see, especially because this is what I look at, a lot of African American men, and they're all talking about, if you want a man, this is what the woman needs to do. Men don't want to date women with kids. And I'm just like, why are you so busy in our business? Why don't you take that same information, switch it over to men? That's not going to happen. You know why? Because they're making the coins off of the back of African American women. Doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem fair. Let them put those same interests for men. You won't see it. But boy, there are a lot of men telling African American women what to do to get a man, how to keep a man. Listen, and especially for you women over 50, be careful. And single moms as well, be careful who you allow into your mind. If you're looking for someone to speak on maybe what a married man was attracted to when he was looking for his wife, go to a married man, young maybe. I don't know. I say young because he could be in his 30s. He could be in his 40s. Something around your same age group. But look for somebody who's at the end goals that can speak, that has experienced them things with life. Do not be going to these podcasts where these men are single and they trying to tell you what to do and they're still single. That doesn't make any sense. Just make it make sense. If I'm a woman over 50 and I want to see what attracts a man or what's important to a man who's over 50, I'm not going to go look at a podcast from a 30 or 40-year-old. I'm going to go to someone like, let's say, R.C. Blake's, where he speaks, to women of all age group, but he speaks from a different perspective. And then sometimes he has his lovely wife. She also plays a part in that sometimes when she comes on. But we know that they also do conferences and things. So if I'm going to go to someone and I'm trying to get to where they are, ladies, make it make sense. I'm going to go to someone who's a little older. If I'm looking for someone over 50, and maybe let's go a little older than that. But yeah, I'm going to go to someone who I know is at that same end goal and has some wisdom behind it. Just make it make sense. Stop going to these podcasts to where these men are making you feel less than what God has created you to be. You know what he says, you're beautifully and wonderfully made. So why would you go to a podcast where they're telling you, you got to do this, you got to do this, and this, and this? And what about the men? Ask yourself that. What about the men? Why aren't they saying something about them? It's only about the women. Now, they need a lot of work. There's less kings around here. I don't know what you call them. I call them grown boys in these men bodies, but no. So let's just make it make sense. And young women, and this is the same thing for you too. My young sisters, let me just say my young sisters in their 20s and 30s. So when you go to a podcast and you're listening to some of these men, first of all, I would say redirect your attention. If you're going to, I always have recommended this. Find someone who's older, someone whose life is like, I like the way they're doing life. I like the way they're doing their, I even like the way they're dating if they're not married, or I like the way they're young but they're married. Get someone whose lifestyle and choices have been good. Doesn't mean everybody's not set out to get married, especially not everybody at a young age. You could be 30, you could be 35, 40, whatever that is. But stop going to these podcasts that are dragging you down. And you know it, because something about it, when they're speaking it makes you automatically feel bad about yourself. Like, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'll never be enough for anyone. I'll never have my king. If that podcast makes you feel like that, that's toxic. Now, look, the scriptures, and I know everybody's not a Christian, but that's what I am, so that's what I go to. But even scriptures were set for correction, but they never correct you to where you're feeling bad. It's always correction to help you move forward, to help you become better, to help you do better. Not to drag you down to feel less than what you are. So my young sister, please stop watching that toxic stuff, because it really isn't good for you, okay? Now, if you were doing the same thing in 2023 and it was not working, stop. Just put your brakes on. Let's do something different for 2024. Let's hit the reset button and let's just say, you know what? I did that, kept doing that over and over again, and it's not working. Dating the same kind of guys, going to the same kind of places. It's not working. Seeking advice from people that, their advice, you look at their life and like, why are you listening to them? And I don't care if it's family, if it's siblings, if it's your best friend, even if it's your mother. If you didn't see the kind of life that you would want to live, or they were not really doing the end goals, or they may not even be making good decision, get away from that. Love them. Don't stop loving them. But that's not who you want to go to make better decisions. So for 2024, hit the reset button. We're going to do something completely different so we can get a different kind of response. Hopefully the response that you wanted. Let's think about it. Trying to think, oh, I know what. I thought about something. When I go to the refrigerator and if I get some milk, we don't drink a lot of milk. So generally if I'm buying milk, I'm buying it because I got to make something. It requires whole milk or whatever. And that milk has been sitting there for a while, and I go to pull that milk out. And you know what? I open it up and I'm like, pour it into a glass or something. And I'm like, wait a minute. This doesn't smell right. This smells sour. I do not need to taste it to determine that this milk is sour and that is no good. What do we do with that milk? We take that milk carton, we pour that milk down the sink, turn on the garbage disposal, and we get rid of it and we throw it in the trash. That's what I want you to do for dating. If it doesn't pass the sniff test, you don't have to taste it. You don't have to waste your time with it. If you smell sour milk, you're not going to put it back in the refrigerator and then hope it gets better. It's not. Think about that scenario when you're doing dating. Let us see if it passed the sniff test. If it doesn't pass the sniff test, that is not what you want. If this man is not a man of character, he said he's going to be at your house at 7 o'clock and he doesn't show up until 8 o'clock, or he calls at 8 o'clock and says, you know, I'm going to be late, or he doesn't call at all. You guys are supposed to meet somewhere and for dinner or something, and he doesn't show up. Or, now I've never had this happen, praise God, this is not my issue. You get to a restaurant and he says, oh, I left my wallet at home. Listen, ladies, listen. First of all, always carry your own money with you so you can pay for your own meal just in case. But you have to think, and you got to ask yourself, is this the type of man that I want in my life? If you're a single mom and if you have sons, is this what you want your sons to see? He comes to your house, your trash can's full, you got younger kids. He doesn't just get up, take the trash out and says, where's the trash can? And it just sits there. He comes, he sees it, and he leaves and it's still there. Is that what you want? Is that the role model you want? Or he just comes and, you know, can help do a little something, just a little something to say, hey, I noticed this, I care. And he just ignores it like it doesn't exist. Or you're hurrying up and you're trying to fix a little something, and you're kind of disheveled, tired, kind of running, and he doesn't offer to do anything? A little something? That tells you a lot about the person's character. You have to say to yourself, women, is this really what I want in my life? So I really want you to do something different for 2024. I am looking forward to 2024. If 2023 wasn't exactly what you wanted it to be, don't worry about it. Girl, it's gone. Hit that reset button and let's get ready for 2024. I'm ready. You see, I got my hat on. Let's see where we are right now. It's 10:45, so we still have what? Ooh.
Oh.
Happy New Year! See you in 2024.